Hello everyone, this is Tim Gayesh, your virtual witch doctor. This is my first time doing this, so I guess don't expect perfection in this first one. Uh, we're gonna start. I'm gonna do a facial analysis for you today, and I'm gonna show you step by step what I do and how I do it and why everything and how everything links together. This is Sarah Cran from our group. She was foolish enough to let me let me do her photo first and be my first victim. Sarah doesn't really look like this. This is a digitally enhanced photo, which is about a 10 times magnification of the imperfections on her skin. It helps when you're dealing in photos to be able to magnify it and see to bring out the imperfections and see them at their worst. So anyway, we're going to get started here, and we're going to go from top to bottom. Typically I look at the eyes, but I'm going to get to that later because there is an issue in Sarah's eyes that is relevant to another issue, which will be kind of at the last of this little segment. So we're going to start first, and since my mouse is already there, I'm going to give it a click, and I'm going to blow this up, and I'm going to show you. You're looking at some lines here. These lines, this is beginning stage of heavy metals toxicity. Now, this isn't a very serious case of heavy metals toxicity, but it's the start. The best time to get at it is when it's beginning, and this would be a prime case of this. Uh, Now with Sarah, we're going to move down. With heavy metals, you're going to need to use silica. Silica, think of silica sand or silica putty. Uh, it, it's a soft substance that when put into the body, it will wrap around, bind, and bond to heavy metals within the body. It helps loosen and bring them back out in the bloodstream so you can pass them through your urine. Copper Mars, or copper arsenite, or arsenic, uh, chelates metals will help break them down, and then the silica will bind to them, make them smaller particles, and help you pass them. That's the approach that I take, and it seems to have been a very effective approach to dealing with heavy metals. Moving down a little bit here now, we're going to have a little peek. I guess we should probably start and look first at the T-zone there. The T-zone, where my mouse is sitting here now, you see it's a little oily compared to the remainder of the face. You can see that the pores are enlarged. It's a little distorted there, but that's fine. You can see out a bit. The pores are enlarged. You have a greasy T-zone. And whenever I see this, this of course is a nat phos deficiency, which is in the old Latin terms natrum phosphoricum, or as we know it, sodium phosphate. Uh, I always try to look for a third link. With the heavy metals, there are no further links to look for. The lines in the forehead, they're always a telltale. You can see 90-year-old people that have no lines in their forehead. This is not indicative of aging. This is an issue of metals or metals. It doesn't have to be. I know everybody first believes and looks at mercury. It's not necessarily mercury. It can be aluminum. It can be any metal. But let's get back to the nat phos. I always look for three indicators that tie it all together when I'm looking at a picture. More in real life, but in a picture I look for three, because you don't have the benefit of seeing the constitution of the person, their demeanor, and how they carry themselves, which can tell you an awful lot about a person. But since I'm not afforded that benefit here, and all I have is a picture, we're just going to try to tie it together. And there's something that does tie this together, and I'm going to just move down here. I'm going to show you this area right here. You can see, even though she's a tiny gal or a thin gal, a slight frame, you can see that her cheeks are starting to. Sorry, Sarah, don't shoot the messenger, but they are starting to sag a bit. And you can see that her cheeks aren't big, but we're getting a bit of sagging right here and a little extension down to the chin. That too is also an indicator. That's what, when you look in the indications and the signs and symptoms, you're going to see about droopy cheeks. This is a very mild case or incidence of it, but you're seeing them extend down, and you're seeing a bit of puffiness here. So yeah, she's starting. So we've got our third correlation for her need for sodium phosphate or NatPhos. So we're gonna write the. I'm actually gonna write this down for her now. NatPhos. Just well do it while I have you here. And now we're gonna go up here again, and we're going to go into the eyes and just expand this a bit. Now you're seeing this redness right here and right here. I've talked about adrenal fatigue, and people have questioned, well, how do I know what's the difference between adrenal fatigue and anemia, or how maybe it's just a shadow. Well, no shadow casts red. When you're talking about adrenal fatigue, you can see that this stops right here at the halfway mark of the lower eyelid. When you go from the halfway mark inward, in here, that's adrenal fatigue. This can be red, blue, black. It's typically a heavy discoloration, which this is. Uh, I wouldn't call this severe. I've seen much worse, but I've seen much less too. But she's got some adrenal fatigue going on, and that does need to be addressed. That will help her with her energy. When it comes to adrenal fatigue, this is almost always typical of somebody who has heavy metals issues. Uh, as soon as I see heavy metals, it's the next thing that I look for anyway. Uh, Silica. Silica is the number one promoter of healing of the adrenals. But what we're going to look at next, which you can see the cubical folds in her along her eyes. This is cubicle. It starts here, and they swirl down. But you can also have vertical cubicle folds that will actually come down in this manner. But this is a cubicle fold. Once it starts in the inner of the eye, inner corner of the eyes, and it runs downward, and can swoop out and follow the eye line. The deeper it is, the more serious or the worse the deficiency is of calcium fluoride. So much is put into fluoride right now, people don't realize that calcium fluoride is actually it's a high necessity of the human body. Connective tissues rely on it. That is what makes them. How do I explain this? It gives you flexibility. Without calcium fluoride, we would all be heaped up in a ball on our floors and unable to move because we wouldn't have flexible tissues. Our tissues would be hard and solid. We wouldn't be able to move. Calcium fluoride, that's what it does for us. And you can see, I don't even need to correlate that with anything, but I'm going to for you. The calcium fluoride. So for the calcium fluoride, you're seeing that we have this line, but you'll also see along this the upper lip pointing to the sky of the eyelid, close to the eyeball itself. You see that lip is red. It's the same on both. You're seeing some discoloration of the upper lids as well. Again, that's calcium fluoride. But before I move any further on that, I'm going to explain a little bit more about calcium fluoride and what else it can do for the body. Calcium fluoride, whenever you hear of somebody suffering, and whenever you hear of a woman suffering from estrogen dominance, progesterone dominance, or lack of progesterone, lack of estrogen, start looking for calcium fluoride. Calcium fluoride will level these two hormones. And so the next thing you want to do when you're at this stage, and I'm going to just bring the picture out and scroll down a bit, is start looking for signs of any hormonal imbalances. In a hormonal imbalance, the first place you're going to look is the chin and mouth area for acne, pimples of any sort. And as you can see, it's not really typical of her acne. You see, you've got a couple of sporadic locations, but when you get down in here, oh, here you go. You get your chin acne. Hello, hormone issues, hormonal imbalances. Now, you've heard me talk about kalium bromatum, which is potassium bromide. This is often used as well. Potassium bromide is the regulator of the endocrine system, and it helps all glands in the endocrine system to work effectively and efficiently and balance the hormones. Now, calcium fluoride is works for these two, progesterone and a lack, estrogen when it's dominant. So dominant or lacking, sorry. In this case, because we can tie all three of these together, I'm going to say that she has either an estrogen or progesterone issue going on here. We've got the chin acne, we've got the cubical folds, and we have the redness of the lids. So I think we can call that, well, not a win for poor old Sarah here, because she needs some calcium fluoride, but we can call it's correctly identified. So calcium fluoride I'm writing down for her as well. Now you're seeing some acne here. I don't like the grouping, but the groupings of it, and I would typically believe kidney issue, and I believe that I've spoke to her about this before. In this photo, for the purpose of educating and teaching you guys how to properly analyze a face, I'm not going to get into that in this particular picture, and I'll tell you why. Because it's going to be hard for you to discern between. You can see right here, she has some genetic freckling here, and the freckling typically runs across. There is an issue seen here in these freckling, but it's not clear enough in this photo to discuss that right now in this photo. I'll talk about it in later photos and later analysis. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to run down. I do want to get back, sorry, before I do run to the last point on this pictures, I do want to talk about the calcium bromide again, or bromidum, the potassium bromide. She definitely has a hormonal imbalance, which is proven by the calcium fluoride but the chin acne. So when you see chin acne, if I saw it without calcium fluoride, I'd be going right to the calcium bromide. But because there is an issue, I would suggest both. Both, one will support the other. The calcium bromidum or the potassium bromide will help to assure that a balance of her hormonal system. I think that'll make this gal feel a lot better. So I would recommend the calcium bromide to this girl as well. And sorry, I'm just going to write that down as I'm doing it. But she has one last issue, and now this is going to be a good one and a good example. Let's look at her eyes for a moment. I'm going to blow it up here for you. Now I want you to look at the distance between the corner of the eye and the amount of white that you're seeing right here, between the iris and the corner or the cubicle area of the eye. Now I want you to look here, and you'll notice that there's a greater distance between the corner here. A slight malalignment or misalignment of an eye is easier to pick up when you don't look at the iris itself, but you look at the whites of the eye, the inner corners, and you measure the distances, and you can see quite plainly that there's a lot, well, not a lot more white, but a notable amount of additional white in this area here than there is here. She has a malaligned eye. Now, this is typical, very, very typical of thyroid issues. So what we're going to do next is try to confirm that. The best way to confirm a thyroid issue is have a look at that neck and see what we've got. And this neck is screaming not only thyroid issues, but I don't believe I spoke to you about this. What bad timing on the telephone. I'm going to ignore that and work right through it because I'm so far into this video. With the neck on this one, let's just hold on a second, folks, until that stops ringing. Just be a moment. Okay, they've stopped. Hopefully they'll go away. That phone never stops. I never thought about that. I should have took it off the hook. Anyway, a little unprofessional with it. Since this is just for our group, I'm going to leave this one like this with that in it because I'm not going to do this all over again. Okay, back to her thyroid, her thyroid issues. I haven't discussed this with Sarah previously, but I believe that Sarah may have a goiter. I've talked to you all about the thyroid. The thyroid location is right here. And when you see, and it looks a lot like a butterfly. Now there's a part of it that goes right here. You look at this line of the neck right here. and you look, that line should be coming down and following the same path right here, but it's not. There's some inflammation here. I believe that this inflammation here may be a goiter. Uh, Whenever there's thyroid dysfunction, the area of the thyroid itself inflames. And that's why what you'll see is you'll see lines like this. They're not coming any lower. The lines aren't coming any lower because they can't. They can't because, well, it's inflamed. If you see lines coming along this area here, they typically stop about here, where the highest point of inflammation is. That's how you tell that for sure, okay, there's something going on with this thyroid. This thyroid is inflamed. It may not show up on ever on any blood work. Excuse me, smoker's cough. It may not ever show up on any blood work, but this gal does have a thyroid issue. And I suspect quite strongly that she actually may have a goiter issue as well, just by the look of the inflammation that's shown on the right side of her neck, which is the most typical location of a goiter in relation to thyroid. So if you combine the necklines, the inflammation, the eyes, it's pretty obvious that Sarah here has a thyroid issue. I know it seems like an awful lot to absorb into one lesson, but that's pretty much all that's going on. So just to go back and recap, we've identified that Sarah has heavy metals issues. Heavy metals almost always leads to these dark red half, bottom eyelid, dark discoloration. That's adrenal fatigue. That she's in need of silica. Then we have our calcium fluoride, which was identified by the cubical lines, the red eye lips, the lips of the upper lips of the eye, inner lips, sorry, I guess of the eye, and as well the chin acne. But the chin acne, again, as we discussed, can and most often is related to a hormonal issue. And I've identified once again, calcium fluoride balances estrogen and progesterone. Now, in the thyroid issue, I didn't speak. Actually, I'm sorry, I didn't speak about the resolve for that. And the resolve. Now, I take a couple of approaches to that. And one issue, I spoke to you about calcium fluoride. Calcium fluoride, all tissues in the human body require calcium fluoride. Every cell in the human body requires it. And it's required, again, to create elasticity of tissue. You take away calcium fluoride, and calcium fluoride alone could be the issue with the adrenals, the adrenal glands. The adrenal glands might be lacking elasticity and not be able to pump properly. That thyroid down there, that thyroid might be the same thing. That may be related to it's very possible that could be related to the calcium fluoride. But typically speaking, a thyroid issue is kalium-iodatum, which is potassium iodine. Potassium iodine is directly absorbed from the body into the thyroid. The thyroid then produces T3 and T4. If you do not have enough potassium iodide in the body, the thyroid cannot properly output or export T3 and T4. So the correction, and believe it or not, a kalium iodide, kalium arsenate, they will both work on the goiters as well. This could be an issue of the way her neck is bent, twisted. I'm trying to look by looking here at the corners to see how straight her head is. But I do believe that this is a goiter. Whether it's small, there's inflammation anyway. It's possible it's a goiter. There's inflammation is absolute. It's definitely there. Anyway, I think that's going to conclude it for tonight in this lesson. Well, I don't know how to close off other than to say bye for now, folks.